taking this transition on to our next guest in the studio, who is actually a huge inspiration for me since I am a huge environmentalist myself. She is a postgraduate of Oxford University. She happens to be leading the EOS schools and leading it with a vision to transform the lives of Pakistani and help bring the sustainability initiatives in action. We have Miss Aruj Khalid in studio with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Miss Aruj. How are you doing?
All right. And well, coming straight into the topic today, what are some of the important aspects that this society does not take into consideration when we talk about the growth and the progress of the society, especially taking into account our young ones, people who are teenagers, young adults growing up? What are the certain things that we miss when we address these people in concern to the society and how they would become adults that would perform good in a society?
All right, so there are multiple ways you can look at that. It's not possible for me to really synthesize that in a sentence, to be fair, because the challenges that we are facing in this Anthropocene that we exist in, they are magnanimous. But what I can pinpoint is that the biggest disconnect I have seen is that there is a, you can say, disjointed relationship between school versus society. So what's happening in school is not being reflected. What's being reiterated in the settings of classrooms when it comes to environment, morality, economy, society, all of that is not being transposed in the external environment that is beyond school. So I feel that is and I have my reasons to believe that that is one of the key reasons why there is a disjointed relationship between how individuals who are being schooled or being educated, they somehow fail to become useful members of society.
All right. You know, Aruj, you describe yourself as an intervention scientist. What does that term mean and how does it align with sustainability?
Right. So intervention is something that I have been working on since, I don't know, perhaps even when I was a child. Oh. So I think this exploratory nature comes through my parents because they take me out in different environments. So moving on, right now I'm at the University of Oxford where I'm specializing in social interventions and policy evaluation. An ECO school, which is actually called Eco Schools, is Pakistan's first nationwide intervention where we're trying to build Pakistan's sustainability acumen. It's being funded by Interloop, but the project has been designed in collaboration with experts at University College London and University of Oxford. So what we're trying to do is that, getting back to your question, intervention means that you see a problem and you come up with a solution, you test it out, and then you scale it at a larger level, right? So when I was doing my MPhil, and I was working on this program called Whole School Approaches to Sustainability, I designed a toolkit for which I was invited at UNESCO, UNESCO headquarters in Paris, and later on when I came back, I started thinking of ways how that work can, go beyond those 200 to 300 teachers and schools that I worked with. So now we have launched a nationwide intervention where we are trying to build Pakistan's sustainability acumen by taking, in the first phase, 200 school leaders on board. So when we say 200 school leaders, that means 200 schools. And if you multiply that number with this estimated number that each school would have at least 1,000 students, you can do the maths, right?
Taking into consideration what you just mentioned, what is the biggest problem that Pakistan faces in this regard?
The biggest issue would be that there is no mindful integration of sustainability in pedagogy, in curriculum, and within the settings of school. The other issue that I have seen over the past 12 years of my association with academia is that the mechanisms are so colonized that it is inherently believed that you have to belong to a certain elitist culture to be able to strive towards these competencies. If you're, let's say, going to a madrasa school or a public school, these competencies are seen as far-fetched, which is absolutely not true. And so this is the you can say societal dilemma that we're trying to encounter, that this is something that can be embedded in any curricula. We are just giving them the tools and the methods to imply that in their own respective contexts.
Well, taking into account also the World Economic Forum and the policies that they've designed for 2030, their Agenda 2030. How aligned is this mission with that vision?
101% is what I would say.
Wow.
And where are
so
we at?
confident.
And where are we at? Like,
All right, so the biggest reason why I wanted to do this work in Pakistan primarily is because currently Pakistan ranks at 137th out of 166 countries globally in terms of our accumulation of UN SDGs. Just to give you a bit of a context, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are key priorities which global governing authorities have consented to meet by the year 2030. Because if we wouldn't meet it, perhaps will be the history will be dinosaurs, right? I mean, the human age that we exist in is called Anthropocene. It is called Anthropocene because human actions in terms of morality, economy, environment, society have long-lasting implications. And United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are those key priorities that can help countries develop mechanisms and systems to drive the entire nation towards achieving these goals. And education has been identified in research, especially in the Western world, as one of the key tools through which these UN SDGs can be acquired.
What is that one most important step that our education ministry should take in this regard? What is that one most important step?
The biggest problem is that we have created silos in terms of educational systems that, oh, this is public school, this is private school, this is madrasa, this is non-formal. What's important is that I completely understand that the same yardstick cannot be used everywhere, right? So what the educational system can do is think of ways, think of interventions, think of systems, how within their respective context they can build these competencies. For instance, I'll give you an example. Research is a skill. It's one of the UN SDG skills. It's one of the sustainability competencies. And you don't necessarily have to be teaching a high-end curricula or like a Cambridge or any other, Western curricula to be able to inculcate that. That can be taught in remote areas of Pakistan with using the same curricula that we have. It's just that there has to be a need of mindful inculcation of that skill set within the written, taught, and assessed curriculum.
Exactly. Actually, I would like to highlight the fact that Pakistan is the 5th most vulnerable country related to the climate crisis and the environmental crisis. So, environmental and climate literacy, it's not a luxury anymore. It needs to be taught as a necessity.
Yeah.
So you are leading this field and you are in this field very prominently. So how is the Pakistani reaction and how are the communities responding to this literacy initiative?
So far, so we launched the pilot of eco schools in January 2025, and we trained 25 school leaders from all across Pakistan that had individuals hailing from all the way from Ghotki to Sibri to Sakardu to Lahore. So we had a very diverse pool. Right now, we have launched a fellowship, which is a 5-month-long free of cost fellowship that is for school leaders from all across Pakistan. And we're doing hybrid sessions for that. Some sessions are going to be in person and some are going to be online. To answer your question so far, I mean, like we have, you can say, a margin of 200 people that we can train.
Oh.
You'll be surprised that we have over 500 registrations. So we're trying to think of ways how we can expand that. That's also one of the reasons why I wanted to be here and discuss this, because we're open to having more collaborators from different parts of Pakistan. Because it's not possible for one person or one girl, one small town girl to do this, right? It has to be a consortium of experts.
Unfortunately, we are short on time, and this was a wonderful, wonderful episode with all three of our guests, all the way from archaeology to brotherhood in Islam and now to education intervention. Such a young, powerful person in the studios with us. Thank you for being here. It was great having you. And with this, we come to the end of this episode for World This Morning. Hope to see you next time, same place, same time, tomorrow morning, inshallah ta'ala. I apologize, not tomorrow morning, Monday morning. I apologize for that fumble. And Shahzad Bhai is hopefully going to be here. I am in his seat, not quite filling his shoes. This is all we have for you for now for today. Do visit our website.